Everyone thinks narcissists feel nothing after hurting you. No guilt, no loss, no 3 a.m. thoughts about what they destroyed. Just silence and a new victim. But that's completely wrong. And the reality is so much more unsettling than indifference. Because what actually happens inside a narcissist after they hurt someone who genuinely loved them, it doesn't look like coldness. It looks like unraveling. Quiet, hidden, and completely invisible to everyone around them, including you. And once you understand what's really going on beneath that mask, you'll never see what happened to you the same way again. Here's where you need to understand something first. Narcissists don't hurt people the way most of us imagine. It's rarely calculated, rarely premeditated. What it actually is reflexive. When a narcissist feels threatened by your emotional needs, by your boundaries, by the simple fact that you exist as a separate person with your own inner world, their psychology does something automatic. It protects itself. Research on narcissistic personality structure shows that beneath the confidence, beneath the charm, beneath the superiority, there's a deeply fragile self that cannot tolerate feeling small. A self that was likely built in childhood around the idea that vulnerability equals danger, that needing people means giving them the power to destroy you. So the whole system learned to preempt that threat, to dominate before being dominated, to leave before being left. So when you trigger that feeling, even accidentally, even by simply asking for something reasonable, their system responded the only way it knows how. It pushed, it deflected, it hurt, and the moment you reacted, the moment your pain became visible, something in them settled, not because they enjoyed your suffering, but because your reaction confirmed they still had power. And power, for a narcissist, is the closest thing to safety they've ever known. So when it first happens, when you're hurting and they seem completely unbothered, that's not cruelty, that's relief. Their nervous system just came down from a threat response. But relief is not peace, and it never lasts. Within days, sometimes weeks, the silence they created starts to turn on them. Because here's what they didn't expect. You stop performing for them. No more reaching out. No more explaining yourself. No more giving them the reaction that kept them feeling relevant. You went quiet. And that quiet does something to a narcissist that nothing else can. It removes the mirror. And without the mirror, the reflection disappears. The version of themselves they needed you to confirm, the powerful one, the superior one, the one who is always the most important person in any room, starts flickering. This is when the first crack appears. They start noticing that new people don't fill the gap the way they expected. Early conversations feel thin. Admiration from strangers feels cheap compared to real understanding you offered. There's less depth, less warmth, less of whatever was you gave that they told themselves they didn't need. And without meaning to, they start comparing. Not out loud, not consciously, but in small, quiet moments. They remember how you showed up without being asked, how you stayed through things that would have made most people leave, how being loved by you had a specific texture that they haven't found anywhere else since. Those memories don't fade with time. They sharpen, and underneath that sharpening, something uncomfortable starts growing, because they're beginning to realize that what they lost wasn't just a person. It was a standard, a feeling, a version of being known that their ego told them was ordinary, but their gut knows was rare. Then comes the fear, not the dramatic kind, the quiet, creeping kind that arrives in the middle of otherwise normal moments, while they're laughing with someone new, while they're lying in bed staring at the ceiling, while they're doing something completely unrelated, and your name just surfaces out of nowhere. What if I can't find this again? They start dating. Some connections look promising on the surface, but something keeps feeling off. The excitement doesn't deepen into anything real. The attention they receive feels hollow compared to the attention you gave. And there's a restlessness underneath everything, a dissatisfaction they can't quite explain or outrun, because you can't replace depth with volume. And they are starting to learn that the hard way, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. This is the part no one talks about. Because eventually, in a moment they didn't plan for and cannot control, it hits them. It wasn't you. Every relationship before you, they had an excuse. Too sensitive, too needy, wrong timing, bad chemistry. Someone always more convenient to blame than themselves. But you didn't give them that exit. You were patient when patience wasn't easy. You were clear when confusion would have been more comfortable for them. You loved them in a way that left no room to pretend the problem was you. And still, they hurt you. That realization doesn't arrive like a flood. It arrives like a slow leak, quietly filling the room until they're standing in the middle of it, wondering how they got there. Their entire self-concept is built on the story that they're the one who is wronged, never the one who wrongs, never the source of the damage. But you, specifically you, the way you loved them and the way you left, dismantled that story at the foundation, and they cannot rebuild it the same way. This is what psychologists call narcissistic injury at the identity level, not just wounded pride, not just embarrassment, but a fracture in the narrative they have used to survive. The fear isn't just that they lost you. The fear is what losing you revealed about who they actually are, that they're someone who destroys the things they need most. And that knowledge doesn't stay contained. It bleeds into everything. Every new relationship starts to feel like a test they already know they'll fail. Every moment of genuine connection carries a shadow, because somewhere underneath the performance, they know what they're capable of. They know what they did, and they know that if they let someone get that close again, the same pattern is waiting. That pattern, the excitement, the closeness, the threat, the destruction, the loss, they start seeing it everywhere, in every past relationship, in every current one. And that recognition brings something they are completely unprepared for. Grief. Not loud grief. Quiet grief. The kind that shows up late at night. In sudden irritability, with no clear cause. In a strange flatness that settles over moments that should feel good but don't. In the way your face surfaces in their mind at completely unexpected times. This is the part they will never tell you, because telling you would require admitting something they have spent their entire life running from. That they are the problem. And here's the thing about all of this. It doesn't mean they're going to change. Understanding what someone feels is not the same as believing they'll do the work to become different. Most won't, because facing this level of self-awareness requires exactly what their psychology has spent a lifetime avoiding. Sitting with shame instead of deflecting it. Taking accountability instead of rewriting history. Choosing growth over the familiar comfort of finding someone new to perform for. That is an enormous ask for anyone. And for someone whose entire internal architecture was built to avoid that kind of vulnerability, it's almost incomprehensible. So some of them reach out months later, sometimes years, not because they've done the work, but because the emptiness got loud enough that hearing your voice again feels like the easier option. They call it missing you. What it actually is looking for relief. They want to know the door is still open, not because they're ready to walk through it differently, but because an open door means they still have power. And power is the only language their nervous system has ever fully trusted. And some of them never reach out at all. They just carry it quietly. The version of themselves they were when they were with you. The version of you that never stopped matching. Either way, the fear stays. Whether they face it or bury it, whether they grow or repeat the cycle, what you represent to them doesn't disappear just because they're pretending it does. You were real. What you gave was real. And deep down, in the part of them they work hardest to keep hidden, they know it. So if you've been sitting with the question of whether any of it mattered, whether you were ever more than just a source of supply, whether they ever felt anything true while they were with you, the answer is more complicated than yes or no. They felt something. They just didn't know what to do with it. And rather than learn, they left, or they pushed until you did. That's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of their limits. Your capacity to love deeply, to stay present, to offer something real. That was never a problem. That was always the point. And the right person won't need to destroy it to feel safe. So take what happened, understand it for what it was, and then set it down. Not for them, for you. If this helped you make sense of something you've been carrying, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to understand the psychology behind why we attract these patterns in the first place, that video is right here.